Well, he did it. Sadiq Khan beat his nearest rival Zach Goldsmith to become the first Muslim mayor of London, a rare sight for a major European city. I'm joined by our columnist, Janan Ganesh, to explore what this says about London's place in the world. Janan, there's a lot of hype around this. There's an idea that Sadiq Khan is this new giant of the left, a major figure in British politics. Is that right, or is he actually quite a malleable character?
I think it's possible to read too much into his election. If you look at the numbers, it was a fairly straightforward partisan election. So Sadiq Khan won by the same margin of votes that Labour won in London in the general election only 1 year ago. So I think reading a lot into the race, religion, culture aspect of him is probably a bit overdone. He himself is about as pragmatic as a politician can get. Some would say pragmatic to a fault, endlessly flexible.
Opportunist even?
Some have suggested that, and it wasn't enough to cost him the election because he was up against such a weak candidate with such a misjudged campaign that he was able to escape that charge of opportunism. But it is encouraging as just a symbolic gesture for a city to make only a few months after the attacks in Paris, not far away.
I mean, that's the key point, right? Did he win it or did Zach Goldsmith lose it?
I think the Labour Party's brand in London was more important than either individual candidate, but Zach Goldsmith's campaign did attract a lot of criticism in the last, I would say, 3 months because of its relentless focus on Sadiq Khan's supposedly radical associations with religious preachers. And
to the extent that Sadiq Khan was the Labour candidate, what does this say about the chances for greater equality in London? I mean, it's a hot topic, but whether it's achievable or even desirable is really open to question.
Yeah, there's a huge focus during his campaign on inequality in London and on extortionate house prices. Those have also been the themes of a lot of London commentary in the media in recent years. This city is incredibly conflicted about its global success because it has led to those economic extremes. And what bugs me sometimes is this idea that you can move back to the affordable, much more egalitarian city we had in the 1970s without losing all the good things that we've achieved since then. So it was cheap in the 1970s and the early 80s because the population was sinking down to 6.8 million, an historic low since the early part of the 20th century.
But nonetheless, is there not some chance that this could be good for affordable housing and so on?
It's conceivable that he can, for example, leverage his right to give planning permission and ask developers in return for more affordable housing. It's conceivable that he can build more housing capacity itself. At national government, there can be erosions into the green belt, which is the protected area around the city. All of that can make a difference. I just don't think you're going to get to a stage where London is actually an affordable city in the way that Berlin might be an affordable city. It's 2.5 times bigger than Berlin. Its economic weight is absolutely colossal. It operates in a league of significance in which only New York, Tokyo, Hong Kong conceivably operate in. And as long as it's at that level, it will not be an affordable city. You can make it a bit more affordable, a bit more accessible, reduce some of the inequalities, but it will always be economically a very extreme place.
Just quickly, in terms of what this says about London's place in the world, though, already Sadiq Khan has, drawn this, proper thick line between us and the States to the extent that he's saying to Donald Trump, I don't want to pass. I don't want to be the only Muslim allowed into America. Is that a good message for the UK?
Well, it'll be a resonant message, certainly among London voters who you've got to expect, out of all the voters in the world, are the furthest away from Donald Trump on the political spectrum. And he's not a popular candidate in this country generally. But really, I think Sadiq Khan's quite well judged in not emphasising the identity politics too much. I thought it was clever that his campaign played up the fact that he was a son of a bus driver rather than a Muslim or an ethnic minority. So he isn't going too heavy on that. And it might be because in a few years' time, if he does well as London mayor, he has his eyes on national politics again. Labour need a leader, it might be him.
Janan, thank you. And if you have any thoughts or comments on what this says about London and on identity politics in the UK, you can comment online.
Britain's new so-called national living wage is the biggest government intervention in the UK labour market for decades, since the days of Tony Blair and New Labour. So what is it and why does it matter? Here are the 3 things you need to know.